Well, a lot happened tonight. A lot happened today. There's a lot to get into with this episode, especially when it comes down to the impact it's had just so far on the series alone. And it's only the fourth episode of the series in total. But there is a lot to get to here tonight. I am your host, Zach Hardy, and welcome to the premiere episode of SickTalk. Now, obviously, a lot, and as I said at the very beginning of at the intro, a lot happened in this episode. Deathly Sickly Dead episode 4, season 1, Beside the Dying Light. We were introduced to the use that Emily, Trent, and Tyler have. We kind of continue to connect the bond between Claire and John, and we sadly lost Chase in the process. So obviously we have key talking points from this episode. Let me just run down them real quickly. I mean, obviously one of the first things that comes to mind after this episode is the impact of Chase's death from here on out and into next season and the entire series total, and especially that death going towards John's mental state. Like, what is John's mental state going to be like from here on out, knowing that John kind of sort of got what he wished for at the very... I mean, we'll get into it. Obviously, spoilers ahead. I'm sorry if I didn't say that at first, but, with the whole, I wish you were part of the undead because you'd be doing much less harm as a member of them than as a member of us. I mean, that kind of has to linger with John, and obviously, I think the sentiment of that comment is going to linger with him throughout the remainder of the series. And obviously, another point is, where is the group going to go from here? I mean, Claire, John, Trent, Tyler, and Emily are still moving on now from the University of California base. So obviously, they're going to try to find some other shelter, some other place to stay, to kind of make up a base to kind of set up a place of operations. So obviously, we're going to get into all of that throughout the rest of the show. But obviously, what I'm going to try to do for these sick talks now, as long as I have it on me, we are going to give a toast to the ones that we lost today. It smells like chemicals, so I'm not going to use that. I don't know why it smells like chemicals, but it just does. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a chug of soda, because why the hell not? I don't have beer on me right now. And soda just seems like the best part, especially when it comes down to 6 o'clock p.m. and it's caffeinated soda. So, in honor of Chase Malcolm and the first passing of Deathly Sickly Dead so far that actually matters and has an impact, here's to you. There you go. Now, we have a lot to get into. We have 2 points, 2 major points. We have a critical thinking. We have pros and cons towards that critical thinking. We have a fan response question. We have a preview for the next episode and an announcement for the next episode. So stick with me. We got a lot going on. But first, I would like to, as the title suggests, this is a live recap, but there is some other aspect to this show today, and that's kind of an implemented little factor. So first off, what I would like to point out is we have a new set. Obviously, whoops, wrong way. We have the Zach Hardy San Francisco 49ers custom jersey. Obviously, we have the 49ers cap or beanie hat. We have the other hats, the remainder hats. We have the San Francisco 49ers New Era cap, which, I might as well put on right now, because why the hell not? Right here, we got the San Francisco 49ers Cletus. That will be staying on the set as well. We've got the Unitards World Heavyweight Championship. So we've got a new set here for Unitards, and this is kind of going to be the backdrop for the videos that I do from here on out. So with that being said, one more thing I'd like to get to. For those of you who are not following the Lynx Football League, the Fantasy Football League that I've got going on, the final brackets are made In the finals of the losers bracket, it will be my Hardy Hardy actually going up against Will Guglielmo's Smack Talk of Skywalkers. Obviously, I was one game away from making the legitimate playoffs. And in the winner's consolation bracket, Tristan Charlo's Team Harambe Hungry Gorillas will be going up against Zachary Schaffner's Team Schaffner. And in the finals, I'd like to give a big congratulations to Jordan Lehman and Jessica Solnick, who have made it to the finals of the league. They are competing for not only their name on this, but a legitimate trophy, which will be presented to them after Super Bowl 51 on my birthday. So in the finals for the next 2 weeks, which will be the final 2 weeks of the season and will determine the winner, Jessica Solnick's Team Hollywood will be going up against Jordan Lehman's Team Lehman, one-on-one in a 2-week bout, and the winner will walk away not only with their name on this, but also with a trophy that will be either made or purchased by me at the end of the illegitimate NFL season. So congratulations to everybody who made it to the postseason. The awards and participation, whatever it may be, the plaques, awards, certificates, and trophies will be handed out to you at the end of or after Super Bowl 51. So now getting into SickTalk 104, really a big question that I've gotten since I announced it. What SickTalk is going to be is after every release of the written web series version of Deathly Sickly Dead, which you can only find at www.unitards.weebly.com/deathly sickly dead. There will approximately 1 hour after the release time, there will be a recap show, kind of spoiling away the episode if you hadn't read it already, and in turn, recapping the entire episode. And it will be live, and I will have the comment section up, so I will be reading your comments as we go along. So it will also add an implement of live featuring where you can, discuss in the comments amongst yourself, and I will read those as well over the episode, and you can tell me how you liked it as well. So, for starters, we've got to get into the show. I mean, I've already been going on for about 10 minutes over the intro, so let's get into point number 1, and obviously that is the main topic from tonight's episode, and really the big shocker from the episode. It was kind of, poked at a little bit in my announcement from last week when I revealed the release date for this episode. There was the possibility of a passing. There was a possibility of a fatality, of a perishing, of the perishing of one of the members or one of the cast or characters. And obviously, it got down to the point where it was between two main characters, and one just went, and the other is going to have to live with the fact that they know that their death was the reason, or their death came at the other's hand. So for those of you who don't know, I will spoil it right now. Or if you didn't read it and you just wanted to watch the recap show, I'll tell you about it now. So it came down to the closing scene of the episode. John and Chase were both the last two remaining in the lecture room once the undead broke in through the doors. They had already cracked the window open. Everybody else had gotten out the window, and John was on the counter. Chase was on the counter, and John ran back to the undead. Chase, seeing that, throughout the entire episode and really throughout the entire season so far, was really that cowardly character, was not really the guy known for taking out the undead. He was more of the guy to kind of be a supportive character. He even admitted it in the in the episode, and it kind of made you feel for the character. It kind of brought a little bit of empathy for the character, that he was like, I'm just not like you guys. I am not courageous. I am not the hero in this situation. I'm looking to survive. I'm not looking to help everybody else survive. I've got to make sure I'm okay before I can make sure all of you are okay. I've got to look out for myself the same way you got to look out for yourselves. I'm just not the courageous type to go out and be the hero to everybody. And that kind of lingered with everybody, but still it was in the heat of the moment. And obviously the fight between John and Chase which a lot of people actually, a lot of my friends actually went and talked to me about it, and they were like, well, you killed off Chase, but I was really hoping that fight between John and Chase would bring some animosity between the two characters and would carry over for a while. And, I wanted that kind of the same way too, but I kind of wanted to establish a concrete base early in the series. So John and Chase both fighting side by side, trying to take out the undead that is constantly invading the lecture room, and numbers just keep piling up on the two. And Chase, it clicks in his mind, and he goes, you know what? Maybe I'm just not cut out for this world. Maybe you have to be courageous to survive in this world. So fuck it. Why the hell not? Hold on a minute. I looked at it in the camera. Forgot to take off the sticker. I've had this hat for a year now. Wow. So yeah, he goes, you know what? It's time to be courageous. It's time to grow a pair of balls. John, get to the window. Get the hell out of here. John is just kind of looking at him, and he's trying his absolute best to convince him to let him stay and fight through it, because he knows that, John knows if he leaves and Chase is not going to, and he doesn't really want to carry down the weight of knowing that Chase is not alive because of him. But Chase, in that moment of courageousness, tells him, go, get out of here. You mean more to this group than I do. I'm obviously not the courageous type. I'm not going to go run into a horde of undead and hack off heads to survive, to help everybody survive. You would. You can protect this group. I can't. You mean more. You matter more to this group than me. You need to go. You need to look after this group. You mean more to this group than I do. And John, he's relentlessly trying to fight Chase's words, but Chase insists, go now. So it kind of overcomes him, and he goes, God damn it, fine. And he goes up to the counter, and he looks to the window, and he's going to the window, and he looks back because he knows in the back of his mind that once he gets out that window, he's not going to see Chase follow him. He looks back, and he sees Chase with the desk in his hand, shoving the undead away, and then tossing the desk at the undead, and then shoving away with the hands. He knows this is Chase's last stand, and he's still taking a little bit more time to just kind of let it sink in his mind, kind of let it bubble in his mind, because it's almost surreal. He hasn't seen anybody die from the undead since the very premiere episode of the series, when the woman was attacked by one of the undead on Route 101. And he's kind of in that moment of awe. He's kind of in that moment of shock and horror seeing this. And Chase turns to him, knowing, and Chase and John at this point both know that Chase is not making it out alive. So John not only knows, but Chase himself knows. And he's come to accept that. And it's in that moment that a lot of the readers look at Chase, and the empathy that they felt for this character a paragraph before has now turned into kind of an overwhelming flow of emotions. Knowing that this character had such a chance for, build, and such a chance and opportunity to grow and to expand. And, it's that one last line where he goes, goodbye, I hope not to see you soon. Knowing that he's going to die, he's going, and he doesn't want to see John suffer the same fate, soon. And at that moment, he's taken down. He's overwhelmed by the numbers game. John's looking on in horror. Chase is being torn apart. And he just keeps going and saying the same thing. I had to, hinting at, he needed to show that he could be courageous. And that was, he made the ultimate sacrifice for the group. He took, his own life was taken under his own choice for the betterment of the group. And that is something that was intended to stick with the series from here on out. You know, a lot of people were saying, you didn't have to kill Chase this soon. And I let a very select few friends know, or, read the episode ahead of time. And I think it was the day after I announced the release date for this episode that I let select few read the episode for themselves. And all week long, they've been talking. All week long, I've been getting these guys talking to me about, you didn't have to kill him this soon. Why would you kill a character that, honestly, out of the entire cast so far, had the most room for growth and expansion, and a storyline could be established for them? And my only real answer is the only one that really simply can stick, and that is, Deathly Sickly Dead is a lot like, written novels like The Walking Dead, or, what was it? There was another story. It was, what was it? Nightmare? No. Night of the Living Dead. Written series that turned into, visual series, or, television series, or movies, or films, whatever it meant. They branched on screen. This is meant to stick to a written series. And you can only get so much going through words. And, these episodes are meant to stay kind of short and kind of grow in the mind. You briefly sum through it in the series, in the written series, but everything that you read expands in your mind because you keep thinking, and it branches. And this web series, I'll tell you right now, when writing the episode, I was torn between, do I kill off Chase now and establish a concrete base for the rest of the series and kind of add that element of intrigue and that element of anything can happen? Do I kill him now and establish that concrete base? Or do I continue to let the character grow, have it mean more, in the impact, but have the show kind of just stay in relevance, but at the same time not have too much effect going throughout the remainder of the series? I was torn between, do I want to kill Chase now, or do I want to continue to grow the character for his death to mean more? So it was either have the series mean more and be impacted more, or do I have his character mean more and be impacted more? And ultimately, I went with the series because, there's only so much you can do with a character. And I'm telling you right now, I would have loved to see the Chase Malcolm character grow and expand past season 1 and past the first few episodes. He was introduced in Deathly Sickly Dead episode 2. And he and Claire kind of connected, but the thing was, excuse me, sorry, while, he was introduced in episode 2, his role in episode 2 was very short. His role in episode 3 was him getting lost and having a search and rescue mission for him. And his stint in episode 4, I wanted to make it mean something. And I wanted to lay out the framework for the remainder of the season. We have 2 episodes left in this season. So it's going to be interesting to look at, how Chase's death will impact the show, not only from here on out in the rest of the season, but from here on out in season 2 and in season 3 and in season 4, if this show makes it, that far. I'm really interested, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking forward, and I think I made the right decision with Chase's death here, because it established the concrete base that I was really looking for in the series, that the series needed to kind of grow and expand. And it's kind of a shame that we had to excuse me, I'm sorry. It's kind of a shame that we had to say goodbye to such a promising character, and one that a lot of people were kind of looking forward to getting into. It's really a shame that we lost that kind of character, but the way he died, the way his death will impact the series from here on out. I mean, I'm going to make his death mean something to the series from here on out. And it not only affected the series, but it affected the group, and it affected John. John, who is one of the biggest main characters in the show next to Claire, he's established himself so far as one of those guys that can take on the leadership role and do a good job with it. But you look at it now from the first 3 episodes where he kind of took over that I'm in command role, and you look at it forward now knowing that he's caused someone to die effectively. And that line that I mentioned at the top of the hour, that line that he mentioned, I wish you were part of the undead because you'd be doing less harm as one of them than you are as one of us. That was kind of, I think that's going to kind of stick with John throughout the rest of the series, because it was effectively him predicting Chase's death. And when it came down to him saying that and mere minutes later, Chase dies, it lingers with him because he knows I had a role in that. That's kind of his thought process, which is one of the key talking points, or one of the reasons why his mental state right now is a main key talking point from this episode. From punching Chase to calling him a wuss to saying he's not courageous and having Chase kind of defend himself and lash back out as, I've never been courageous, but I'm alive right now, and that's what matters. And the fact that he said, I wish you were dead. It's one thing when, your brother or your sister or your sibling goes, I wish I was an only child. But it's another when you go, I hope you die. And they actually do. So Chase's perishing is going to affect the group, but mostly it's going to affect John from here on out. So obviously it comes very soon in season 1, and I touched on that because we wanted to lay the concrete work for Deathly Sickly Dead, and it opened a lot of eyes, and it was kind of like and my friends drew the similarities to the episode of The Walking Dead, which I believe was season 3, episode 4, where both T-Dog and Lori died. And it was the 4th episode of the 3rd season. There are 8 episodes in the first half of the 3rd season. And in the midway point of the season, we have 2 main character deaths. It was like it flipped it around and went, anything can happen here. And I think laying down the groundwork for Deathly Sickly Dead so early in the first season, or so early in the series, where you can say anything can happen, kind of lays interest throughout the rest of the series. And I think it's going to matter a lot throughout the remainder of the season and into next season. So obviously, this was the first real element of character development in Deathly Sickly Dead. Throughout the first 4 episodes, you had, John Walker, Claire, Trent, Tyler, Emily, and Chase. John and Claire. Claire was the badass who showed John, or was talking to John about what was going on, and John kind of grew, and he became kind of found that knowledge of, all right, it's time for survival. And then Trent, Tyler, and Emily were just introduced last episode. Chase, with that lack of courage, kind of became the main character development figure in the series. And now that he's gone, it opens up room for the remainder of the characters to grow and develop, as the show goes on. So, it obviously brings in, because character development is what kind of helps the series grow interest towards a specific character. And with this character development in Chase, you see that every character has promise, but that climax, that conclusion of that character's run really has an effect no matter where it takes place and no matter how it takes place. It could have, I mean, Chase's death meant a lot, when he was being devoured by the undead. And, that was his courageous last effort to save the group. He essentially lost his life to save 5 others. Which is the ultimate, would you pull the lever so a train runs over 1 person instead of 5 people? You sacrifice 1 to save more than 1. And that's what Chase went through in his mind. But now, now you see, well, I don't know. Now you see, honestly, I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that. He brought courage to the character, right? He brought character development to Chase Malcolm. He brought intrigue. He sacrificed his life to save others. Now, could you say that his death would have had more meaning had he been shot by a random person while outside the building? Could you say his death had more meaning if all things happened in the series, or if all things happened in the way they played out in this episode, but the way he died at the end was he got out the window and was tackled and eaten by a walker? I meant, my bad, undead. He was tackled and eaten by an undead. I mean, can you say his death would have meant more if it happened in a different way? I mean, obviously there could be other ways that his death could have meant more than it did in this episode. But perfect way to send off Chase Malcolm, and I think this was the perfect way to establish, that layer, that foundation that Deathly Sickly Dead kind of needed. And obviously, the final talking point of Chase's death is, how will this affect John from here on out? John is kind of looked at as the main protagonist, and a lot of the readers, go back and forth. Claire is the main character, or is the main protagonist. John is the main character, the main protagonist. And there's no real clear answer. I don't want to give away who is who or what or who is what. But what I can tell you for what is virtually a fact, it's that John has been shown to be more of the leader of the group than Trent, Tyler, Emily, Claire, or Chase. So this is kind of like a Rick Grimes situation after Lori died. How will his ideals mentally affect the rest of the group? Obviously, the group is going to be devastated. Maybe less Tyler, Trent, and Emily, because they didn't really know Chase. And more Claire and John, because Claire and John actually knew him before whatever. But John is really going to be most affected, obviously, for the whole encounters that he had in the episode, knowing that he's the reason why he perished. How is this going to affect John's character from here on forward? And I mean, a lot of the questions I got were how is Chase's death gonna affect the series? Well, I mean, it's gonna affect the series a lot. I can tell you that. It's the first death of the series, but it's gonna affect John a lot too. And John is still alive. John is going to continue being alive past this episode. So Chase's death is going to affect John in a way. And it's kind of interesting to see how it affects him. And that's kind of what is going to be a main focal point and a main talking point throughout the rest of the season, of the first season, and possibly throughout season 2. and possibly forward. So that's Chase's death. We're gonna leave it off at that. We're gonna head into point number 2, and there's a couple talking points for this, and that is the big main question: where is the group going now? Excuse me. In episode 2, that's when Trent, Tyler, and Emily were introduced. Claire and John both stumbled upon them, and that was where they kind of established their first real base. Before that, Claire and John spent a night in Claire's basement, and then they were out and about, and then they were on the road, and that's when they got to the California University of California. And that was their first major camp. They obviously have to leave that now because there is undead around that area, so it's not safe. And there's going to be a lot of speculation, and I've actually, the people that not only have been talking to me over the past week about it, after getting the first, free episode preview, but a lot of the people that called me and talked to me about it an hour ago, or like a little over an hour and a half ago, were like, well, I mean, you can have them survive in the woods, you can have them take over a house, you can have them take over a hospital, you can have them take over a prison, you can have them continue to stay on the road, you can have them take over a lakeside area, a mountain range area, over an abandoned neighborhood, you can have them find new survivors. They'd be like, they're trying to shell out ideas for me. I have a clear point in my head where I want the series to continue going. And the titles of episode 5 and episode 6, obviously episode 6 is going to be the season finale, but the talking point of episode 6, or the title of episode 6, and the title of episode 5 kind of hint towards what is, going to be expected from the series. I mean, besides the dying light, the word dying kind of, if you were kind of speculative, it kind of delved into death, which is, what happened, the main astounding point in this episode. In season 3, or in episode 3, was Long Road Ahead. That was them on the road, down Route 101, walking in the hot summer day. Well, a hot day, period. It's California, and it's like November, so it's not like the best, but it's a long road ahead to where they want to get to. Episode 1 was a pilot. Obviously, it was the pilot episode, so we're gonna title it the pilot, because why not? And episode 2 was Amid the Ruins. No, season 3 was Amid the Ruins, or episode 3 was Amid the Ruins because of the California base. And episode 2 was Long Road Ahead because they had just left the house and were on the road to find out what they were going to do next. The episode titles give it away, and obviously I have the episode titles for episode 5 and episode 6 planned out. And when I announce episode 5's release date, not today, but when I actually write it up and everything like that, I will also give you the title so you can speculate amongst yourself about it. But the title kind of gives it away, whether it's the entire title or just a word or just an abbreviation or a paraphrase, whatever it may be. Titles kind of preview it, what is going on in the next episode. So with that being said, where's the group going to now? Obviously, first thing I got, which was a big question, because a lot of people, and I'll tell you right now, a lot of people that talked to me back when they read episode 1 asked me, why California? So the biggest question that they got from me, when I told them, or when they read that, they were going down Route 101, which was still out through California, a big question, or they realized that they were still in California, but now they're on the road, they don't really know where they're going, other than that it's still on Route 101. It could be out of California. So a lot of the people asked me if they were going to be heading out of California. And I'm not going to give that away, obviously, but I can tell you there's a possibility that at some point California won't be as important to the series as it kind of is now. But for right now, the chances of them leaving California anytime soon in the series is very, very slim. So, the next question I got was, what is the fate of the real leader? And the reason I say real leader is because technically there are three options for leader. There is the least popular so far because he's the least known, Trent, who is the leader of the group between Tyler, Emily, and himself. There's Claire, because the badass chick and everything like that, and one of the protagonists, and John, one of the protagonists, but also main focal point. So I'm going to go through each one of them in kind of branches. So bear with me. Trent, obviously, if he were to take over the leader role, which I'm not saying he will, I'm not saying any of these guys will. I'm not going to give that away. But if he were to take over the leader role, Chase's death, whatever it may be, it's not going to affect him much. The only thing that I can see affecting Trent if he were to be the leader and the group to be affected because of their leader being affected, the only reason I can see Trent being affected is because he technically is not used to being on the road. He's been in that lecture room since the beginning of the outbreak. So that's really the only shelter he's known. So on the road, it's going to be a little bit different from it than what he's used to. He's going to have to really adjust to that. So Trent, he didn't know Chase all that well, really, other than, from what he saw. He wasn't courageous. He was kind of a wuss, and he couldn't shoot. So it's not going to affect him much. Claire, on the other hand, she kind of got to know Chase. They kind of gelled a little bit, and she was really the one that went into "we've got to find him" mode. And I mean, you can definitely say Claire was the most attached to Chase out of everybody we've seen so far, but comes down to it, if Claire were to be the leader from here on out, it would have, well, some questionable, effects. Were Claire and Chase close enough to the point where his death is really going to affect her, and she's going to be really lost about it and really kind of estranged about it? Or is it going to be like, we could have done more, but we did all that we could, and he went out as a hero. Let's leave it at that. So with Claire, it's really up to whether or not they were close enough in the series, or close enough to begin with. The real one is obviously, as I said, going to be John. John was the one who wished that Chase was one of the undead. He was the one that punched him in the face and fought with him, before the undead broke through the doors. And he was the one that Chase saved. Chase saved John by sacrificing his own life, and at the same time saved the group. So that's going to carry with John. That's going to linger with John throughout the episode, the remainder of the episodes in season 1 and in season 2. It's going to linger. It's going to stay. It's going to settle with John. To what extent, we don't know yet. But what I can say is that I've said enough about John with Chase and John, and involving that. But Chase, or John, out of those three, would be most affected. Trent would be the least affected, and Claire, it's really up to the toss-up. Was she close enough, or was she not? What was the bond? And I think that'll be we'll be delving into that a little bit more as the series progresses. But I wouldn't expect it to be all too much. Expect to hear some subtle hints through it, through season 1 and season 2, but not all too much about it. Another one is, what I wanted to say was, there is a possibility that the group may be forced to survive in the outdoors for a while. You look at what is down Route 101. You obviously have hospitals, you have big buildings, you have exits that lead into back roads that eventually leads into neighborhoods. But there is always the possibility that they may be forced to survive in their car or find shelter outdoors or perhaps even be stranded on a highway, dare I say it. Who knows? All I know, what is known is that, you know, obviously there's a chance to survive in a house and in a hospital or in some kind of building, but the chances of constant survival within that building with undead that can invade is that, perhaps a building, I don't know, maybe a building is not what they need to focus on right now. That's what I'm going to say, that there is a chance that a building is not what they need to survive right now. Maybe they just need to take some time to kind of find that ideal base, that ideal sanctuary where they can call home, where they can be, where they can, kind of live and survive. Who knows? Whatever. That's what I'm going to say about that. And the last question for point number 2 is, what dangers other than the undead does the group face on the road? Obviously, the undead is a big odds maker because it's the beginning of the outbreak. Undead are lurking at every corner. Obviously, the living can outsmart the undead, but besides the undead, obviously you have the opportunity for the group to cave in on itself, perhaps members becoming uninterested or, dare I say it, pissed off at other members of the group, perhaps other survivors that may be dangerous and may be able to out the group. Perhaps there are wild animals. Excuse me. Perhaps there's the chances of death lingering to everybody, and possibly making it to the point where they just can't function all too well going forward. Maybe their own mental stability becomes a danger to the group. Who knows? I mean, there are obviously a bunch of possibilities, and the remainder of the season is going to show a little bit of that, because we do only have 2 episodes left in the season. It's going to take time to work out and kind of strengthen. We'll see. It's going to progress. Don't worry. Now we get off of the points and we go into our critical thinking segment. And the critical thinking question that we have today is, have Trent, Tyler, and Emily been officially minted into the group? So have they earned their place in the group? We've seen them for the past 2 episodes. Emily, Trent, and Tyler are backing with John. They show that they can survive. They show that they can fight. They have the power to make it far in this new apocalypse. But we have some pros and we have some cons. The first con we obviously have is there may be leadership conflict, because you have John and Claire, who are both very capable of leading this group of survivors from here on out to continue to survive. But Trent was also the leader of Tyler and Emily, and Tyler and Emily's group. He kept them alive. Maybe he could have a say in, hey, you know what? I want to be the leader. I kept these guys alive. You guys kind of struggled over the first couple of days. Who knows? Maybe I'm just more fit to be the leader than you. So it comes into, maybe there could be a leadership conflict in the series. Maybe there's a chance for the group to become unsteady and maybe see that they're willing to let their own die for their own expense. So maybe they just get distrust and distaste in Claire and John. So that can build in there. Obviously, a big pro is show that they can fight. They show that they can survive. from the scene where they are in the Horde building, which is filled with the undead. Tyler showed that they can survive, that they can fight, they can actually make their way and can clear a path, kind of help the group along. They prove themselves as possibly vital to the group's survival. So they prove that the numbers game could go in their favor with them. Another con that I showed is that they may not be accustomed to living outside of a sanctuary, outside of a safe place, outside of four walls. I mean, they obviously lived off of whatever they could get out of vending machines and whatever they could scrape from the cafeteria, whatever water they could collect when the water was still running. They lived off of that for 4 days at that point in time. Excuse me. So maybe they're not accustomed to having to find food and water and safety outside of a closed walls. Maybe they showed that they can only fight when they know that they have a safe place to go when they're done. Maybe their inexperience with the elements could have a play or a say in the rest of the series or whatever, the rest of their time. And one more pro that they have is that Trent, Tyler, and Emily they know a sense of safety. They can protect. They have a sense of protection. That scene from episode 3 where Claire and John open the door to the lecture room and they immediately shoot at Claire and John. Shoot, because they are intent in protecting themselves. That can show that if Claire and John tend to mold with them, then they may have Claire and John's best interest in their heart and not just the rest of their group from the original student facility. So that always comes into mind. That can always linger there and stay there. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We've only known Trent, Emily, and Tyler for a short period of time now, so the characters are going to grow and the characters are going to develop. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to take some thinking to kind of realistically predict what's going to happen from here on out with this group. So with that being said, we have a fan response question. And anybody watching this, whether it's live or if you're watching this after it's been recorded and uploaded to YouTube, you can all take part in this. And obviously, I would love your feedback. So you can use the hashtag DeathlySicklyDead on Twitter. You can tweet me at Zachary Sarah or at Unitards. You can do whatever it may be. And you can even comment in the live chat right now, or you can comment in the comment section below. Whether you read the episode or not, you can always have a say in it. I'd like to know your opinion, but we have a fan response question, which is your opportunity to get involved with a serious question from the series, and I'd like to know your thoughts on it and your predictions. I'd like to give you a voice in Deathly Sickly Dead, which is something that you can't get from The Walking Dead or Z Nation or any other zombie, undead television show. So the fan response question for this episode is, where do you think the group will end up next? So from this episode on, what do you think the group is going to end up doing or going to next? What's their next step? And out of all the comments and responses that I get from this video, in the next episode of SickTalk, which it will be SickTalk 105, I will take the best comments and the best predictions from that, or from this episode, with the username and everything. I will give them that shout out. I will read their username and I will read their comment and go over it. And I will go over it and possibly in depth if we have enough time. In that next episode, I want to be able to give you guys the opportunity to have a voice in the series and have a voice in where Deathly Sickly Dead goes to from here on out. So, with that being said, it's time to get to where you all wanted. And that is what you're all asking for now, especially after this episode. Where's the preview? Season 1, Episode 5. We need the preview. We need to know something. We need to know. I mean, you're going to leave us off until, and I'll get to that in a second, but you're going to leave us off until God knows when. So give us a little taste of what's going to happen. Give us something to expect, something to wrap our heads around until we get to read it, you know? So obviously, the preview, I can give you a line. I can give you a little preview line, a little snippet, and I will also very, very discreetly, kind of mystically comment on the next episode. So the snippet line I'm giving you is the long road ahead is going to get much harder. Obviously, that means that they're going somewhere. They're going someplace. So next episode, you're going to see them going to a specific place, whether that's mentally, in like figuratively, or legitimately. You're going to see them heading off in a direction, and it's going to take a toll. It's not going to be easy. Nothing in the apocalypse is, and nothing in Deathly Sickly Dead is easy. It's going to get much harder. It's going to be a little bit different than what you've seen so far in Deathly Sickly Dead. So that being said, the official, not the official like full release date, but I can give you a time span of when Season 1, Episode 5 will be released for the public. And I said, again, for the public. And that will be, and you know what, fuck it, I'll give it a drum roll. Season 1, Episode 5 of Deathly Sickly Dead will be released in January of 2017. So this will be the one and technically final episode of SickTalk of 2016. In January of 2017, Deathly Sickly Dead Episode 5 will come out. There will more than likely be a SickTalk 105 coming out afterwards, about an hour after the release date. The release date for these web series are more than likely going to continue being 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And from this point on until, probably early January or maybe late December, around that time span, I will give you the official release date, for Season 1, Episode 5 of Deathly Sickly Dead, along with the title. And obviously the snippet the line snippet is, the road ahead is going to get much harder. So take with that what you will. I will be revealing more information about Deathly Sickly Dead and the 5th episode of Season 1, the second to last episode of the season, in the time to come. So between this now and its release date, you will know the official release date. So with that being said, there's not much else to talk about. If you made it this far, comment in the section in the comment section below. Just comment SickTalk 104. No spaces, no spaces, whatever you want. SickTalk 104. All right? And I will like your comment, and I will respond to you, and hell, maybe I'll even subscribe to your channel. You'll have to earn it, though. So, with that being said, that's all I have for SickTalk 104. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for your overwhelming support. Very soon, probably starting at the very beginning of Season 2, I will be putting out an availability sheet for you to be entered into what I'm going to call sweepstakes, which is where you can be entered into a raffle type thing, where you can have the ability to get the following episode that and the winner obviously will be announced at the end of that episode's SickTalk, but you will be able to get a first-hand copy of the next episode a week before its release date. So if it gets released on, let's say for episode 105 of Deathly Sickly Dead, if it gets released January 27th, you get to read it on January 20th, and as long as you don't spoil anything, you can have that episode free, and whatever it may be. And very few will get, and it switches all the time. So when you get that first that private preview of that episode of Deathly Sickly Dead, it is to be kept secret, to be kept quiet. Otherwise, you will not be able to be given the rights to read it ahead of time before anybody else. But with that being said, it'll probably start around the beginning or start of season 2. And with that being said, that's all I have for SickTalk. Again, a big congratulations to Jessica Solnick and Jordan Lehman for making it to what is being called and what will be continue to be called the Fantasy Cup for the Lynx Football League. I have to put the names on this trophy, obviously, because we've already had 2 seasons, and technically it wasn't a private season. It wasn't like a friend season, but 3rd season of Fantasy Cup. This will be Fantasy Cup 3. And with that being said, either Jordan Lehman or Jessica Solnick will be walking out with not only their name on what I'm calling the Spalding Ball, which will be the trophy, either that or the Hardiac Cup. But we'll also be walking out with a trophy that I will either buy or make myself, and that will be presented at the end of Super Bowl 51 or after Super Bowl 51. The winner will be getting a trophy. The winner's consolation prize will be getting a certificate type thing, and the winner of the loser's bracket will more than likely get some kind of recognition or whatever, or some kind of notoriety. It'll be something. They'll get some sort of prize. I'll figure it out later on. But yeah. With that being said, thank you for watching SickTalk. I hope you enjoyed. This was really fun for me to do, and I hope you liked it. Honestly, this series may be my favorite one of all time, just because I know I don't have to do it every week, and I know I don't have to do it every day or every month. Whenever it comes down to the episode being released, that's when I'll be able to do this, and it offers, obviously, intrigue for you guys. So, yeah, that's that. So, thank you guys for watching, and thank you so much for your overwhelming support, and thank you for being able to give me this opportunity to make a legitimate backdrop for this video, much like I had about a year ago when I was making these videos. So with that being said, we're running on an hour now. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I sincerely hope you enjoyed. And your support again means so much to me. It's overwhelming. Thank you guys so much for making this series extremely popular. And I'm proud to announce that Deathly Sickly Dead, I forgot to mention this, Deathly Sickly Dead has been picked up for a 2nd season by myself and by other Unitards members. So thank you guys so much for your support. It's so great to have you guys along with the ride. And now that's it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I am Zach Hardy. I am your host of SickTalk, and I am signing off.